Your location when you are in God's presence becomes that of the observer. And when you're not in God's presence, what is your location?
Then there is the sense like I'm gonna pick this up, I'm gonna save this. There is the sense and it feels real.
Yes. Try to have a moment and see if you notice any moment where it seems real without the hypnosis of a thought. This really is the master key. The mind will tell you, no, it's just energetic. But it's not. Because there is no problem in any pure perception except under the influence of belief in a thought. The seeming individuality, the seeming of the limited self is not possible without belief or identification with a thought. Okay, so let's look at it. Tell me the difference between pure perception, you see, and the recognition that I am none of this.
Say it again.
The difference in pure perception. You're just perceiving everything openly without labeling, versus what you're calling the experience that you recognize that you're not any of this. Is there any difference? So the only determining factor about the seeming to be some of this or a part of this versus not is only that. Because what is pure perception? Means uncontaminated by identity or belief in thought.
It's probably the sense which I'm trying whenever I'm in that sense of identification or something I'm trying to describe. It's not here now, so
Yeah, it's difficult. Yes. So I want to clarify one thing, that what we call the sense of identification is the same as saying under the hypnosis of the mind. It's not two different things. Because identification with what? How can you identify with the body? Try to do it. Have a sense of identification with the body. How will you do it? You see? Or a sense of identification with your partner. You see? Try to do it. Or anything.
more like a sense of I'm doing this, I'm doing.
Yeah, have that sense without a thought.
I could relate to this in a way because
Without a thought.
So where preference, I could see where preference is born, there's form, but it hasn't necessarily taken a name yet.
Are you visualizing?
No. This is
What?
because I'm on this school many times you've heard me say energetically feel it. And you're someone that says it must be a thought. And so where I feel many times I see preferences and they haven't taken a thought that's I could actually trace. It's more of just
Intuitive preferences? What do you mean by preferences?
well, in that state of presence, when the person and movements come and you're staying there as the witness, you see.
Too fast for me. So, can the person come without thought?
The residues that are felt can still arise.
In the pure perception of the residues, is there a sense of individuality? I agree. Some residue, some
Yes.
energy which doesn't call itself residue, it's just experienced. You see?
Where it's okay, so it's. I think this is where identification happens. That they're so close that
Yes.
when identification
What
isn't
the
there.
perception and the label. Is that what you mean? What is close?
The interest and the disinterest.
Interest with attention or belief? Like interest. Like that? Oh, What do you mean? It's good to really zoom in,
Okay, say that
because without zooming in, it can seem very broad. So when you say interest, so there can be an interest like, where attention seems to get fixated, we may call that interest. The other time we're like, what is this? Oh, 5 fingers, so must be in hand. So that is a different sort of interest to try and understand conceptually.
No interest with attention.
With attention, okay. So with full attention, now how can we identify? It's good to experiment with it. Suppose your attention is fixated on a sensation, maybe we call it a contraction. Is it? Fully fixated. Okay, so?
As soon as it seeks relief.
No, wait. Don't go far. Attention is on it then?
Okay, attention is on it, and there are 2 routes.
Very, very slowly. Attention is on it. What's next?
Either I relax the attention and have faith in the moment.
Okay, slowly. So, who relaxes the attention? Whose attention under the command of?
It's grace.
Grace, consciousness, self, whatever you call it, but it's not a person.
No.
Isn't it? So consciousness releases its hold on that particular perception.
Yes.
Yes. So that may happen, or suppose it doesn't. So then?
Okay, the alternative, supposing it doesn't, there is this pursuit.
Slow, what do you mean? Pursuit? Attention is on it now. How do you pursue?
Attention's on it.
Yeah.
Identity.
How? What do you mean identity?
Goes towards object.
What do you mean identity?
Seeking.
Huh? No. What do you mean seeking? Tell me
effort.
From description, not explanation. You know the difference?
From description and not explanation.
Yeah, because explanation means that you already figured out what it is, but I want you to describe to me what is actually perceived.
So let's come back.
Attention is fully fixated on this.
And we've already, there's one route, which is the higher route.
One. Yeah. No, we don't label. It's fine. That's one route. What's the second?
Where somehow attention, it just forms, and there's a wanting to
attention
change.
Forms.
There's a want to change.
Slowly. So, okay, let's ignore attention forms. So, wanting. How is it possible in just looking at it? How is it possible to want?
Well, there's interest. At this point, interest.
That is what you're saying, the attention fixation wala interest, not the conceptualization.
Right.
So now the interest is being filled because the attention is fixated on that. Now produce a wanting. How to do a wanting?
So you're saying without the conceptualizing.
No, don't jump. Just follow me now. You said that a wanting may happen. Tell me if it's possible. How is it possible? Let's produce a wanting here.
This is desire.
How is it desire? How did it come? Your attention is on this. Now something else is coming in attention. What are we saying? Something else is coming in attention? Because perception is possible only with attention.
Mm-hmm.
So then what are you saying? Attention is fixated on this.
Why would it be fixated on that and not something else?
Okay, so you're saying it's not that much interest then.
But no, it is. In this case, in this example, it's like right here.
Okay, so it's fixated. Then how to want now? Because attention is fully fixated like this. How will desire come? What is this desire?
Okay.
What is that perception?
I need my lifeline. Tell me, how does desire come?
Is it possible without a thought? Like desire something now in pure perception without a thought?
Well, there's a preference.
What do you mean? What is that? What do you mean? What is perceived? What is perceived? That we may call that a preference.
Extreme unpleasantness and an interest.
But that's here already, no? This was the contraction.
Uh-huh.
Okay, now preference. How is preference coming? Or desire or wanting or preference? How is it coming? How can you confirm its presence? The presence of wanting or desire?
Because there's something formless that's witnessing a subtle form.
Okay, that's where we are. Okay, then?
So that subtle form hasn't taken on like a full-on conceptual thought. But
No,
it's
that's
just
where we are. So now what happened next?
Okay, you need to help me here. I don't know.
I'm proposing,
Okay,
you know
well,
what I'm proposing. I'm proposing
I
that
actually don't.
without identification with the thought, you cannot say there's a grasping, desiring, preference. None of that.
So if I'm
The mind will rush you. Okay, you have to go really slow, really slow.
I don't want to. I really don't
See
want
the
to miss this.
mechanics of identity. It will make it obscure to you. Whereas it's fully apparent to the master who's telling you that only with attention mixed with belief does identification happen.
Anantaji. So I don't know if it was last satsang or maybe 2 satsangs ago. We had a dialogue which kind of
Yeah.
felt like something was really struggling there, and the struggle. I took it home with me because what you said I knew to be true, and the knowledge I felt in my heart that I was sharing also felt to be very true.
Yes.
So I went home and I sat on it, and so the conversation was about how everything in experience is a thought.
Now everything in experience is a thought.
Yes.
I don't remember this comment. I remember that we were looking at pure perception
Yes.
and unlabeled or uncategorized or without a narrative from the thought, it cannot produce suffering.
Mm-hmm.
That is the proposition that I was submitting.
Without believing in the thought. So first there has to be a thought to believe in.
But the perception,
But pure perception is independent of the thought. And I think the challenge
it's tricky. So let me just get
Yes,
that out of the
yes.
way because that will confuse another 50 of you, which is that there are two ways in which Vedanta defines thoughts. One is the energy constructs in our brain, in our mind, which carry those, not brain, but mind, which carry those messages for us. That is what we usually in satsang refer to as a thought. But many also take the entirety of consciousness to be like a big mind. The big mind is referred to. And then from that construct, in that you can see every appearance within consciousness, they call a thought.
everything phenomenal.
Everything
It's
phenomenal.
however subtle,
Correct.
as long as if it's other, if it's perceived as other, it's a concept.
So these are the two definitions available in Vedanta. I usually rely on the first one. No? I rely on the first one because I notice the innocence of the realm of perception, empty of thought, empty of the message, the narrative. So I don't feel like we need to throw the baby out with the bathwater. The waking state is here. We don't need to be in opposition to it. You see? Unless we're really very attached to it. So sometimes we say, forget about this world, it's not real. Like that. So that's fine. But I don't want anyone to be opposed to whatever shows up in the waking state because it itself is not troubling us in any way.
The trouble is, and this is where the dialogue went, is when you believe.
Exactly.
And as long as it's a thought, it's innocent. Whatever it may be, a sensation, a perception.
Yes.
And so in that dialogue, you actually took the second definition, where everything is a concept in the phenomenal realm, and that was a new experience for me because I broke down experience into perception, thinking, and sensation. But it's been a very beautiful unfolding because when you kind of take all of phenomenality and making a melting pot and just say everything phenomenal is a concept or a thought, and our relation to it is we say open or empty, or we believe, it becomes very simple and doesn't give the mind room to play. It's as simple as,
So we can look at it, let me make it even simpler if we can. Why I was saying that usually I talk about it in the first way is because if I say, okay, believe this.
This being
This. Just believe this. You can perceive it. Okay? What makes you unable to believe it?
Interest.
No. Something. What? Like, okay.
Yes.
Believe this. Believe this. That tool of consciousness of belief doesn't apply to just perception. No. What will it believe? You'll say, what? Believe this.
But it doesn't have to be a full-on thought. I mean, if you take the first definition, because I can see that, and I'm not going to think, oh, the cup is going to come hit me in the head.
Yeah.
I'll just go to a memory of being smacked in the head. And so there'll be a sensation that's like this.
Yeah. No, wait. So before that, just this itself believe. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? You can believe something about it, but can you believe it?
What is there to believe?
Exactly. So the mode of belief only applies to language. Only applies to that which I usually call a thought. You see? And we say, this is black. Whether I believe that this cup is black. Yeah, that's easy. You see? But that's easy. As I believe this.
But without the mode of thought, can I be interested in that if there is no belief?
We'll come to interest later. I'm just saying it's in front of you in perception right now anyway. No?
Yes.
So we'll come to what interest is in a moment. But just in itself, so what can belief be applied to? Attention can be applied to everything. The entire waking state, the entire dream state, whatever realm of phenomena, attention can be applied to it. But what can belief be applied to?
There must be at least one word.
Yes.
Interpretation.
A label, something. Good, bad, anything. You see, nothing, empty, even those are words. You see, that's why I say empty of even empty. Nothing which is beyond nothing. Because we can just start believing the words. You see? So, with attention itself, try to cause trouble for yourself. Can't do it. Can't do it. And what can be believed? So can it be believed? Believe this.
No.
It's a very absurd thing to say. I can say, okay, now believe the cup is black. Then all of you can say, okay, I'll try to believe the cup is black. Or believe the cup is white. See? That, like, you can still see that you have the ability to override with conceptual knowledge that which your perception is telling you. See? So if I told you this is just an optical illusion, and because you have credibility with me, hopefully, and I said this is just an optical illusion, actually it is just a white bowl which is appearing because of the way it is designed as a black cup. You see? And you may say, but I don't do this, but we do this every day. We do this every day. We know, or we think we know that the earth is moving. You see? Or that it is spherical. Because we have used conceptual knowledge to override even what perceptions are being interpreted by the mind to be. Because the perception of the world seems to be flat. And yet we've changed that. So the tongs of belief, the grasping, the grip, the grasp of belief, you see, can it be applied to something which is not in language?
But how does this apply to feelings?
To feelings? Yes. Same way as perception. Like something is coming. The Guruji takes this example very well. He says, if you really start to notice the feeling, you will notice that the feeling when you're about to go for a holiday which you're very excited about, You say, I'm so happy we're going for this holiday, versus if you have stage fright and you're going to go on stage and experience a thing, the feeling, the taste of the feeling may be the same. But our mind comes in and says, you're scared or you are so happy. You see? So the feeling itself is harmless. You see? Harmless to you. You see? The pain or something may come, it may shake the body, but we don't suffer from it. You see? What is the difference?
label that we put on it? That
Is the
then causes
label.
us to-
And then because what is baggage? What is conditioning? What that label means for us. You see? So if in your country, of course your country is famous for cats, but if your country you did not have a cat, somebody says cat. It's an empty label. You see? So, but most of us, we put all our history, all our baggage very closely connected with cat. I like cats. Oh, I like cats because I had a cat, my neighbor had a. The full story is included. Just we may just say cat.
So this is actually a very good transition point, because the point, like the conversation we're having, two satsangs were all saying, there's some experiences, some things that are so subtle, there's no real name on it yet.
Wait. Okay, I know you're going there. Wait, first before you go to all of that, because we made a deal also.
Yes.
We'll come to that in a moment. Right? So now let's take the mind's primary objection. The mind's primary objection is that if I say, don't label this cup, don't say it's black, don't say it has tea, just be. You see? The mind will say, but that's a very stupid way to live. You see, it's absent of intelligence, the absence of intelligence. But is it true? Because if I propose to you that whatever intelligence you need in that moment, from that experience, is inherent in the perception of that itself. It doesn't need the storification on top.
So so in this case you're saying in pure perception, there's the mirage. It's not labeled as a cup, but the waking state is still observable. It just hasn't taken a definition yet.
Yes. But you don't have to make it sound fancy. It's just
But
simple is fine. So it's just what it is. Now, why I'm saying that is because we can create a new like narrative structure which can become like meta labels. Huh? So you need to avoid that. Just return to very sort of innocent, simple sort of mode of expression, because those are the ones which, like, we may fall in love with our own expression and then they become the narratives which we can't leave. But I know this becomes like this thing of this thing. Yeah? No, it's just tools to communicate. We're not trying to say anything at all special or important or anything like that. It's just tools to communicate. Okay, so now open and empty. Are you unintelligent? Without labels?
Intelligent is a loaded word.
Yeah, it's true. It's also a label. What do you mean by intelligence? What is needed in this moment, apparently needed from you in this moment, is it available to you just in perception, or do you need to have a story? This is what I'm trying to say.
Needed for. Needed for what?
Whatever. Like, you had to say those words. It was available to you. Or you had to put it in a story.
But even the concept of everything you've said in the last 10-15 minutes, the minute you stop to think to understand it, you are labeling it
Yes.
in its own way. Right?
Yes.
So in some ways it's almost as if we listen to you and we just go home, let it sink in, and without perception, without anything, it just comes back on its own. But the minute you try to listen to anything the second time,
Yes.
it's in a different, you're now caught in the labeling, thinking, perception. So
Yeah.
how does one deal with that?
Don't. You have to just deal with everything fresh. That's what I was saying earlier also to Jyotina, that I don't have most of this trouble because I know that everything is just moving moment to moment, and if any other guidance is needed beyond what perceptions are providing, then my heart will speak. And if it doesn't speak, I know nothing else is required.
Perception also provides understand to understand the labeling, because labeling, I think you are saying more in terms of narration or storification versus labeling as in just whatever we see label comes like beard, that's a label, connector, camera, all these are labels. So in what way you're saying label?
Does it come?
Yeah, as soon as we see something label.
If you're sitting at home and you're having chai, you like cup, television, light. It comes like that.
No, it happens.
Right now, you're seeing so many things. All the labels are coming. Man, couch, computer, all labels are coming.
Again, it is not coming as thought, but label is there.
Where? If not as thought, then as what?
Recognition. How do we recognize?
Do you recognize a cup?
I think we recognize it.
No, my dear. Cup is just a category in language. No? It's an abstraction. Because you see a handle, you see a shape, you say it's cup. But that's only in thought. Like that's why the Zen master would say there's no table. What table? Then you say, okay, there are 4 sticks and a slab of wood. Then you say, there are no sticks. What is a stick? And you say, okay, now this brown color, something. You break it down.
But we don't break it in our just perception of table, because you can start breaking up to and up down, then what is inside also you don't have quanta, etc. etc. So nothing is really there. We don't do just.
No, what comes organically? You're saying that along with perception, the name also comes.
Yes, again. Just see
That's not my
whatever is
experience.
label comes. In whichever language you
Okay, what labels are coming now? Fast.
Ice.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not trying to make it like.
No,
words.
say, I want to hear.
Here, I mean, curve, shelled white color. Like that.
Go on.
Sorry?
Go on, don't stop. You're still perceiving, no? I'm trying to check if my experience is different from yours because that's not my experience.
Wait,
I don't feel like organically the label comes.
you know what? Organically, see, sorry, the example you have table. If we really go there and see just the 4 sticks and some platform, then we need
Is
to
perception.
take effort.
Okay, before we come to that, whatever you're perceiving right now, are you also meeting it with the labels or no?
It happens at least, if not, it is by default there, at least it happens so quick. Level.
And what part of it do you label? You label everything showing up in your perception?
What I'm trying to say is, we cannot recognize anything without label. And yeah, that is the label.
Not recognized. I know that too. If I don't give you time, the label doesn't come fast enough. What is this? You saw it, no? You recognized it. Are you confused about it just in looking at it? No.
So you mean that if you look at something and then you don't have a word for it, you don't recognize something.
Something like that.
You don't recognize it?
You can't recognize.
That's what, we don't have a word for it, but try to give some word which we know of.
Yeah.
Okay, I have never seen spectacles in my life. I'm seeing for the first time. I don't know what it is. Probably I will try to say, I saw something which.
He's sitting too far from you today. That's the basic problem.
But I think
Intellect is an overdrive.
But maybe like you said, it's like quite such a thing that to just trust that in that don't go to the don't.
No, but what is your regular experience? Now I also want to know. Like if you're just sitting around, are you just surrounded by labels in your head?
No, it's like
Person.
you said that you can label, but you need a second to label.
But how is it for you as you're living? Is it just walking, labeling? Like that?
No, sometimes it looks a bit like that because you're there in the mind. It seems that you is more like labeling like emotions or believing in a thought and say, this means this.
Typically, I feel like the mind doesn't waste too much energy. Whatever it needs for its story, it labels that. Like, I'm feeling a lot of anger. You see? There could be 100 other perceptions happening.
Yeah.
But those are irrelevant to the story, so it doesn't bother with labeling them.
Yes.
You see? So, like that, whatever it can insert in the story, it loves to label those things. But it doesn't waste too much energy labeling all the things which are not relevant from its perspective, which means from the perspective of its story.
Maybe what I can say is that there is like a belief, a thought that says, yes, of course I'm labeling everything, But if I look in the...
Yes, if you really look.
If I really look at this, not true.
It's not
I'm not labeling everything.
It's not true.
Impossible to say. It's really impossible.
It's not possible.
Exactly the experience what I'm saying is without labeling, the recognition cannot
You
happen.
come and sit.
Although once you made me do this experiment, you said with a rose, be a rose without the label. So I said, yeah, you can call it anything, but it will still be.
That's a beautiful one.
And then you said, okay, you don't put a label and see what happens.
Yes.
Don't put a label on anything. And when I didn't put that label,
As the whole real rose summon,
the
Shiv
Huh?
got very interested in that dream.
What?
The whole rose sermon, no?
Yeah.
Flower.
Flower
So,
sermon.
but without putting that label, with no label on anything, just nothing, I just saw that really there was no rose as such. There was all just one self. I did not say that.
Yeah.
There was no distinction between anything.
Yeah. And there was no question of distinction and non-distinction also.
Yeah. I mean,
Only
it's just-
because you're being asked to communicate, you have to say there was no distinction.
Yeah.
Yes.
But otherwise, there was just like one.
No distinction, non-distinction, no reality, unreality.
But that lasted 5 hours. But I never forgot.
Huh?
No. I was in Peru. I remember because we were just leaving after Satsang and you told me, okay, you try that. And I was really doing it sincerely, but it's all about your grace. I see that. So it just became so, like whatever, like that. But after some hours or a day or so,
And now?
Now I try and remember that. I mean, I can't honestly say it's that.
Also, what I want to say to you is that, and all of you, is that I'm not giving you any tools to have some spiritual experiences if you can't do it now.
Yeah.
Because this happens in the narrative. You see, I say, oh, I had that experience then, and mostly it troubles you. Everything that I've said, hopefully, can be applied here and now.
So before we stray too far, just
Yeah.
feels. So the conversation we had, I was saying, I don't feel like my problem is a thought to
Yeah.
believe in. I feel like it's energetic.
Yes.
But then, based on this conversation, I'm obviously labeling
Yeah.
that energetic as something
Yeah.
in order for it to bother me.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if there was no
Exactly.
label,
Exactly.
it's just pure perception and there's no issue there.
Yeah.
So even if the name isn't really like, is this, and this, there's some kind of name on it
Yeah.
in order for me to have that.
Yes, that's what I mean by language. And you may say that the label is empty. You see, so cat, suppose you've never heard of a cat. So it's empty. But even in that language, you'll say, okay, cat sounds a bit like ka something. You'll have some correlation, some baggage. No? So we live in this baggage conditioning because of identification with language.
Also, imagination comes in. You were just saying, the Zen master said, imagine a table. What is a table? Piece of wood, 4 legs. immediately the
Yeah.
imagination.
Yeah. And even perception of imagination, there is no problem. Because all this is also the same actually. That's exactly the point I'm trying to make, that whatever perception you may have, whether it is feeling, whether it is imagination, whether it is what we call memory. What is memory? The image will come. The mind will say, oh, this happened, not good, I didn't like it. Oh, I love this, why can't I go back to those times? You see? That's why all this imagery gets converted into all these categories.
Oh, yeah.
So the key point in all of this is that nothing in the world of perception is in opposition to you being free. You see? Nothing in the world in the world of perception is really in the way of your true self-knowledge also. Can you take it that far? Can you take it that far? In pure perception, who you are is apparent to you. I'm stating it, it sounded like a statement, but as a proposition. What do you find? It's apparent you are witnessing it, no? Fully apparent that you are witnessing it. And it's also fully apparent that that you which you are witnessing and you're calling I, you cannot perceive. Too fast? Okay. It's apparent that you are perceiving all of this. In the same way, it is also apparent that the I which perceives all of this is unperceivable. You see? So your highest truth is already apparent to you. That is the I you are finding. No? You're looking for the I which is not perceivable. Already apparent.
And it's as irrelevant and material as the table with products.
Any idea about it is as irrelevant. Any idea about its relevance or irrelevance also is irrelevant. Empty of that.
And for the idea again, words are needed.
Huh?
Words and narrative are needed even for the idea.
Yeah, any idea is just language. Now, but I'm not saying that there is not a deeper intelligence which can also use words. But first we must learn to be empty like this.
And seeing it become a concept.
The mind will conceptualize everything. You just let it go. Don't get in the way of it trying to conceptualize things. That is not the job. The job is to do what you want. You are not bothered. Allow it to do whatever it wants. We did look at the mechanics of attention and belief, the distinction between them. Because mostly we just consider attention to be belief. But to recognize that just in open perception, pure perception, can't suffer. You need to put it in a belief system, in a narrative, for us to extract suffering out of this world.
So, what
But
is
it's
it?
also more than that, because we were saying that in pure perception, not only is the fact that you are the witness to all of this apparent to you, but in that also apparency of self-knowledge, you see that you are unperceivable as the witness, which is what you're trying to come to, the self-realization or the recognition of the unperceivable witnessing of all of this. isn't it? What would you consider self-realization otherwise? Because you've already been told as the first step that everything that you perceive comes and goes and is unreal. So to come to a self-realization, you would have to come to a recognition of that which is unperceivable. You see? So the mechanism is not through perception and it is not through understanding concepts. But most in the world don't realize that there is another mechanism of knowledge, which is intuitive or the Sadguru presence or a heart knowledge.